I would like to take this time to say thank you very much for joining in on the Fortress Brokerage Solutions Simplified Issue online virtual event and introduce to you today Dave Zellickson. Dave is a friend to Fortress and a resource, and he assists us within the Simplified Issue platform. He's here today to take you on a high-level overview of the products available within the simplified issue space from the carriers that Fortress is currently partnered with. I think that you'll find this informative and helpful. And if there's anything we can do for you, please let us know. Thanks, and Dave, take it away.
All right, thank you, Ashley, and good morning, everyone. My name is Dave Zellickson, and I partner with Fortress Brokerage in a kind of a support role here, helping out with some of the education and training when it comes to the products. And today we're going to be discussing the simplified issue space and what that is and how you can write some business in it. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask by using the chat function there, and Ashley and I will address them at the end of today's session. So jumping into things. What is simplified issue? So let's start out with what it isn't. And this is really important. Simplified issue isn't guaranteed issue. So not everyone's going to pass. This isn't a as long as the client can fog a mirror type product. You will get declines. And I'm here today to help you avoid as many declines as possible. Now, simplified issue isn't automated underwriting or accelerated underwriting. Now, remember, those types of products, it's still full underwriting. It's just for healthier clients. So what simplified issue is? Simplified issue is a way to get your clients non-medical coverage fast. This means that it is lab, exam, fluid, and APS free. There's no needles, no getting poked and prodded. There's no random quality control knockouts that you're going to experience with some of the accelerated underwriting. Clients who may have minor health issues will still be able to obtain life insurance coverage. Conditions like asthma, high blood pressure, diabetes, which would be referred to full underwriting for on an automated underwriting chassis, are perfect for simplified issue. Now, Fortress has partnered with two carriers in the space, being Foresters Financial and Mutual of Omaha, the two leaders in the simplified issue space. These carriers have the products to meet your clients' needs, the processes to ensure a rapid turnaround, and the experience to back it up. You don't want to work with a carrier who's just figuring things out when you're writing your cases. Now, both of these carriers offer term, final expense, and children's whole life products. Where they differ is on the permanent. Foresters offers whole life and current assumption UL, while Mutual of Omaha offers IUL. Now, when it comes to the term products, Mutual of Omaha has their Term Life Express, while Foresters Financial has two different product offerings available. They have their Your Term product, which is going to be for your general clients here. And then they also have the Strong Foundation product. Now, this is the one that you're going to want to use because it's a little bit more lenient for clients with diabetes and will ensure that they'll be able to get coverage as well on a non-medical basis. Now, Ashley has the product materials and she will distribute them to you after today's session, so that way you'll be able to pick apart the differences between the Your Term and the Strong Foundation, as well as when to use each product. Now, when it comes to the permanent products, this is where you're going to see the major differences. What we have on the screen is a side-by-side comparison we put together for you here today. These are the permanent products that are available from both Foresters as well as Mutual of Omaha. Now with Foresters, they have their Advantage Plus 2, which is the whole life product, and then they have the Smart UL, which is their current assumption UL. The whole life is available on two different chassis, either a 20 pay or a pay to 100. Unfortunately, there's no other wiggle room for premium variations, so it's going to be one of those two options. Now with the Smart UL, it is a traditional current assumption UL, so you can customize the premium the way that you want it to be. So whether you want to do a 3, 5, 7 pay, 15 pay, pay to 65, whatever your client's going to be comfortable with, you'll be able to customize that there. Now, as you can see, the issue ages here go from ages 18 to 75. With Mutual of Omaha on their IUL Express, they do top out at age 70, although for the clients who are tobacco users, it does top out at age 65 on the IUL Express. But where all these carriers have similarities is in the underwriting. Now, these products are built to include up to 4 tables of risk. So that means your clients, as I mentioned earlier, who might have some dents and dings will still be able to get coverage without any labs, exams, fluids, or APSs. Now, these products are built on a pass or fail type system. So if your client's going to fall outside of a table 4 rating, they will get declined. So you're going to want to do some field underwriting, and we'll go over the knockout questions in a little bit to avoid those declines. Now, all products have a minimum face amount of $25,000. Maximum face amount is actually going to vary between the carriers as well as the ages. So for ages 18 to 55, Foresters will go up to 400,000. As soon as you hit age 56, though, it's going to drop down to 150,000. So pretty steep drop there. But you will be able to get your clients non-medical coverage of $150,000 after age 56. So it's still a great option for you. Mutual of Omaha has a little bit more flexibility there. 18 to 50, you're going to get 300,000. 51 to 60 drops down to 250, and then once you hit 61, it is going to drop down to 150,000. Now, I do want to highlight one thing here. If you look down at the bottom where it says program nuances, the maximum face amounts that are listed that you see above there are per life, regardless of the number of policies. Now, this is per carrier here, but what that means is the most you can get with Foresters Financial is going to be 400,000. So if you write a client with $200,000 worth of term and $200,000 worth of their Advantage Plus 2 whole life, you're maxed out. You can't now get another $200,000 or $400,000 of the Smart UL. So keep that in mind, and the same goes for Mutual of Omaha with their Express portfolio. Now, because these products are simplified issue and the pricing and risk is a blend of mortality here, they've simplified it. So you only have 2 underwriting classes, non-tobacco and tobacco. It's very straightforward. Now, what the carriers are going to do when you take an application, they're going to do an MIB and prescription database check. There could be MRVs as well, depending on if they're going to be necessary. And you'll see those notes there underneath Mutual of Omaha. Also, there could be phone interviews available, depending on the client's age and face amount that they're looking for. Now, again, these are just database checks that are done here, so they're pretty simple and pretty fast. And with Mutual of Omaha, you can get an instant decision, while Foresters has a rapid decision that could be turned around in less than 20 minutes. Now, all of these products do include riders that are built in. So these are not elective, they're a part of the product, which means when your client gets the product, they're also going to get the rider. So that's a chronic, critical, and terminal illness. There are some elective riders available as well, such as accidental death, children's term, waiver of premium, etc. And those are all going to be in the product guides that Ashley will supply to you after today's session. Finally, we have the state availability. So Mutual of Omaha does not do business in the state of New York. However, they're available throughout the rest of the country. Foresters does have their products available in New York. Again, if you have any questions, please go ahead and pop them into the chat, and we will go ahead and continue on. Now, the opportunities for your clients here. You're going to want to work with the clients who don't want to go through an exam. Okay, for whatever reason, maybe they just don't feel like going to the doctor, especially in today's COVID environment. They're not going to be around other patients who are possibly sick. Your clients who are needle phobic, and I can admit I'm one of them. Anybody who doesn't want to get poked and prodded in order to get their insurance, this is a perfect solution for them. And then finally, your clients who need insurance fast. Now, typically, you're going to see those for somebody who's looking to secure a loan, whether it be a mortgage or a personal line of credit, a small business loan, or an auto loan. They typically need the insurance fast because these types of things come up during the 11th hour. And with the products from both Mutual of Omaha and Foresters, you can get these products issued and in force in just a couple of days here. Now, like I said, you're going to want to do some field underwriting for these clients. Not everybody is going to be a fit here. Clients who are going to fall outside of a table 4 will be declined. So those you're going to want to put through on a fully underwritten chassis. And of course, Ashley will be able to help walk you through those as well. Now, um, your clients with the common non-major medical conditions are still going to be able to acquire coverage. Now, I did touch on those earlier, but some of those conditions are asthma, mild or intermittent asthma. Clients with severe asthma, not going to be a good fit. You will need to have them go through full underwriting. Clients who have anxiety, again, mild anxiety, or high cholesterol as well. If you have high cholesterol, which is controlled and medications are allowed, they'll still be able to get coverage here on the simplified issue basis. High blood pressure is the same way. As long as it's controlled, medications are allowed, they'll be able to be approved for coverage. And then finally, diabetes. Now, both carriers will allow coverage for diabetics who are non insulin dependent, controlled with a good A1C, and diagnosed after the age of 50. For your clients who are going to fall outside of those parameters, you're going to want to take a look at the Forrester's Strong Foundation product. And Ashley will guide you through that. They have a great worksheet that you can use. It only takes about 5 minutes for you to fill out with your client, and it'll let you know in advance whether or not they're going to be able to get coverage. Now, keep in mind that sometimes there could be an underwriting referral for these clients. If the client is taking a medication which is used for something simple like high cholesterol or high blood pressure, but it's also one of those medications for a client who maybe has a more serious medical condition, like, say, an organ transplant or the like, you're not going to get an instant approval from either of the carriers. They will need to reach out to the client just to confirm what the medication is being used for. That's done by the carriers themselves, not through third-party vendors, and it's typically done within a day or two. And after the client, explains the reason for the medication and the condition it's treating, they'll typically move to issue the policy that same day. Now, the knockout questions. Mutual of Omaha and Foresters have very similar applications. This is a PDF of the paper application for Mutual of Omaha. You'll see right here at the top, if the proposed insured answers yes to questions 1 through 7 in this section, they're not eligible for coverage. So please keep that in mind. Do some field underwriting. Keep this PDF available on your phone or your tablet or your laptop, so that way you can just go over it with the client very quickly, and you'll be able to determine whether you can push them through a simplified issue or if they're going to need to go through full underwriting. But as you can see, has the proposed insured ever been diagnosed with HIV or AIDS? If that's the case, they're not going to be able to get coverage. Again, on a simplified issue basis, they'll still be able to get coverage through full underwriting, again, if they meet the typical guidelines there. If they have coronary artery disease, also known as CAD, they've had a heart attack, bypass surgery, angioplasty, stent placement, they're not going to be good fits for the simplified issue products. If they have a chronic lung disease, except for mild asthma, which we noted earlier. If they have COPD, chronic bronchitis or emphysema, not good fits. Bipolar, schizophrenia, Alzheimer's, dementia, most of the more severe cognitive disabilities are not going to be able to get coverage on a simplified issue basis because they'll fall outside of that table 4. If they have chronic kidney disease or renal disease, cancers, leukemia, melanoma, they're not going to be able to get coverage. Now, if you do have a client who has a history of skin cancer, if it's basal cell or squamous cell, they still could get coverage. Reach out to Ashley first before you push through the application, and she can help guide you through that process. If the client has ever received an organ transplant, they're not going to be able to get coverage. And then, as you can see, if they have any type of issues with their ADLs. They're not going to be able to get coverage here, and you're going to have to push them through full underwriting. So that's the first half. Here we go into the second half where they're under advised for certain things: surgical operations, diagnostic testing. Those are going to be more wait and sees, not necessarily knockouts, but it just means don't push the client through at that time because there might be a 6 or 12 or 24-month postponement. Now, there's also a couple of questions about the future. Within the next 2 years, if your client's going to be engaged in any high risk sports, so motorsports, boat racing, skydiving, and the like. And then, of course, in the past 10 years, if the clients have had any substance abuse problems, alcohol or drugs, if they've been convicted of a felony, those are going to be knockouts as well. Now, after you've gone through and you've done your field underwriting and the client answers no to all of these questions, which probably about 70 or 80% of your clients are going to, then you can move on to the application. And that process is very simple. With Mutual of Omaha, you're going to go ahead and you're going to log into the carrier portal. Just use your credentials to sign in there, and you're going to create a case. Now, when you do that, it's going to ask for the client's basic information. That's, name, address, phone number, date of birth, and contact information, including their email address. So you're going to want to have your client in front of a computer when you're doing this, because as soon as you create the case, Mutual of Omaha is going to send your client an email, and that is actually going to be the HIPAA authorization. Your client's going to need to sign that and submit in order for you to continue with the rest of the application. You won't be able to move through without it. But what that does is once the client authorizes the HIPAA, Mutual of Omaha is going to begin the database checks. So that's when they start the MIB, prescription database, and MVR when necessary. The questions you're going to see as you progress through the application are actually going to be reflexive based on the information that came back from those database checks. It's going to take you about 10 to 15 minutes to complete the app. And when you do, once you get to the final end, you're going to click that submit button and you're going to get an answer right there on the spot. It's going to be one of three answers. Congratulations, your application has been accepted. And if that's the case, the policy number is then given. If you're applying for one of the final expense products, it tells you whether or not it was approved for a level death benefit or a graded death benefit, and it'll just move on to the next steps. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there could be a case where medication causes an underwriting referral. If that's the case, you will get that answer right there once you submit the application. It's usually triggered by the prescription database checks. Sometimes other instances can cause it, but it's reviewed in 24 to 48 hours. The carrier will reach out to your client to get clarification on what it is, and then once that's done, they'll go ahead and they'll go to issue if need be. And then finally, decline. If your client is declined, we have a little bit of good news here for you. It's a soft decline. It's not reported to the MIB. The reason being is because, again, these products are only built to include up to 4 tables of risk. So when your client is declined, they're telling you your client is declined for this product. Your client doesn't fit into the guidelines and parameters set here. That's not to say they're not going to be able to get insurance if they were to be fully underwritten. It's just you don't qualify for the simplified issue. So that's the good news. It's a soft decline that's not reported to the MIB. Now, once your client is approved, though, an email is sent to the client for signature and payment. So again, the client's going to get an email from Mutual of Omaha. They're going to need to sign everything that they're accepting it, and it's going to ask them for their credit card or checking information for them to submit the payment. Once that's done, you will receive an email for you to countersign and submit the final to Mutual of Omaha. Once that's done, Mutual of Omaha likes to get some eyes on it just to make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. A simplified issue underwriter will review the policy within 24 to 48 hours. After it's reviewed and approved, it immediately goes to issued and is considered in force because payment has already been received. Once it is issued, a PDF is automatically generated and emailed to both you as well as the client, and a printed copy is also mailed to the client as well. Pretty simple, straightforward process. You can have the approval done in less than 20 minutes and the policy in force by the very next day. With Foresters, it's a little bit more of a traditional e-application that you're familiar with. You're going to log into the Foresters portal, and it's going to take you through their e-application. As you can see, their knockout questions are very similar to what Mutual of Omaha has. They're going to ask you some lifestyle questions first, as opposed to secondarily. Cigarettes, marijuana usage, and the like, as well as some lifestyle questions for avocations if you're a pilot or if you're doing any of the extreme sports as well. For the medical questions, it's going to ask for the basic information that we saw as well with Mutual of Omaha, any prescription drugs you're taking for treatment, if you've ever been diagnosed with HIV or AIDS, cancers, cognitive disabilities, and the like. Very, very, very similar application. Now, once you go through this, it's just an e-app that you've all seen before. It's an iPipeline type of e-app, and it's going to take you through all the check boxes that you're going to see on the left-hand side. Once all of those are checked green, you click Submit the application, and it generates the email to go to the client, and that's the email that contains the HIPAA. So again, you're going to want to be there with the client when they do this and have them in front of a computer, actually. So if you're taking it over the phone or online, but Once the client authorizes the HIPAA, that's when Foresters begins their database checks, so the MIB and the prescription database checks. It's scrubbed against the application, and it typically takes about 2 to 10 minutes for Foresters to complete this process. In some cases, it could take a little bit longer, but average turnaround time 2 to 10 minutes. Now, once that's done, the results are then sent to you via an email, and you'll find out through email whether the client has been approved, and if so, you'll get the policy number there, and it'll tell you, if you're on a level or, I'm sorry, if you're applying for a final expense, whether it's a level or a graded, or if there's an underwriting review. Again, those are typically triggered by results that come back from the prescription database check. And it's a very similar process. They're going to need to reach out to the client to get clarification on any medications that the client is taking. There could be other things, but 90% of the time, that's what it's going to be. And then finally, if you get a decline. Once again, it's a soft decline, very similar to Mutual of Omaha. It's not reported to the MIB because, again, your client's just not fitting the guidelines and parameters of these specific products. So it's not to say that they wouldn't get insurance if they were to be pushed through full underwriting. And then finally, once all that's done, if the client is approved, certificate is mailed out. You're going to get a PDF emailed to yourself as well as to the client. And if there's any delivery requirements, it'll be attached. And a paper version of the policy is going to be printed and mailed to the client as well. So very simple, very straightforward process for both Mutual of Omaha and Foresters, where you can have policies issued and enforced in 1 to 3 days.